One sentence, one stage, and Hollywood froze. For weeks leading up to the 25th BET Awards, the headlines were routine: red carpet predictions, whispered surprise performances, a sprinkle of social media speculation about who might steal the show. Nobody bothered adding Tyler Perry to the shortlist of potential fireworks. Perry, the billionaire storyteller who built a studio larger than Paramount, but still handwrites thank you notes to boom mic operators, was famous for quiet grace, not incendiary commentary. Yet, at 9:47 p.m. Pacific that night, the soft-spoken mogul stepped to the microphone and, with fewer than 60 syllables, detonated a cultural tremor that rattled every boardroom where Meghan Markle's signature still carried weight. He never mentioned the Duchess. He didn't need to. The parable he offered, a tale of opening one's home and heart to guests who repay generosity with silence, landed like a subpoena. Cameras couldn't cut to Harry and Meghan in the audience because they weren't there, but X, the app formerly known as Twitter, filled the gap, stitching context onto every clipped phrase. Within minutes, the quote, "Some folks borrow blessings like they're owed but never return the favor," had sprinted across the internet, racking up 2 million reposts before Perry even left the stage. By sunrise in London, it was trending on 6 continents, and Archewell's phone bank lit like a Christmas tree wired to a faulty generator. To understand why that single sentence hit harder than a week of tabloid exclusives, you have to rewind to when Harry and Meghan touched down in Los Angeles with more luggage than plans and a paparazzi convoy in pursuit. The world had watched them step away from Buckingham Palace, an institution that can trace its power through centuries of ceremony, into an American landscape ruled by deals, dollars, and reinvention. The couple needed a fortress where they could hide from flashbulbs and figure out who they wanted to be. Enter Tyler Perry, Hollywood's patron saint of second chances. Perry offered more than a roof. He handed over a fortress, an $18 million Beverly Hills mansion, round-the-clock security he paid for himself, and a promise of privacy in a city that sells secrets by the hour. To Harry and Meghan, it felt like grace delivered on a silver platter. To Perry, it was an act of friendship familiar to him from childhood church sermons. You help the stranger at the gate because someday you might be the stranger. The arrangement was supposed to last a few months, long enough for the Sussexes to get steady footing, ink a couple of American media deals, and disappear behind their own gates in Montecito. Those first months were a blur of gratitude posts and coded Instagram captions that hinted at newfound freedom. Meghan's friends told glossy magazines how relieved she felt to be safe. Harry joked on a Zoom panel that he finally understood drive-through coffee. Perry, never hungry for press, declined interview requests but continued wiring money to the security team that shadowed the couple day and night. When the Netflix partnership landed, reported 9 figures, though insiders say it was front-loaded with performance triggers, Harry texted Perry a photo of champagne glasses clinking beside a California sunset. Perry responded with a thumbs-up emoji and went back to shooting a Medea spin-off. What Perry missed, according to people who later spoke on Background, was how quickly good deeds can calcify into expectations. The favor list grew quietly, item by item: a private jet to Vancouver, introductions to creative financiers in Silicon Valley, then an informal request to lean on his personal relationship with Oprah to guarantee bigger promotion for the couple's first docuseries. Perry granted a few asks, politely sidestepped others, and somewhere along the way noticed the absence of one simple thing: thank you. Not the polite TY text, but genuine reciprocation, an acknowledgement that generosity is a two-way current. Then came the private jet call. Meghan wanted Perry's Gulfstream for a short hop to Aspen, tagging the ask as a simple favor and promising it would be quick. No fuss, no press. Perry paused. Charter companies sit idle all over Burbank. Money wasn't the problem, but the request felt transactional, another line item on an open tab nobody planned to settle, so he declined gently. According to a staffer who overheard the aftermath, Meghan erupted, accusing Perry of withholding friendship. The assistant described the conversation as icy velvet, absolutely polite, absolutely cutting. When Perry hung up, he allegedly told his inner circle that the scales had tipped. Friendship had turned into obligation, and obligation was starting to feel suspiciously like exploitation. From that moment to the BET stage was 18 months of slow burn frustration. Producers approached Perry in confidence to say Meghan was citing him as a silent backer in pitch meetings. A venture capital contact forwarded a deck for a lifestyle brand Meghan was raising seed money for. Perry's name appeared on the last slide under a banner that implied financial endorsement. He hadn't even known the company existed. Each incident felt small in isolation, but together they formed a story that made Perry's stomach clench. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan's public narrative glittered. Streaming platforms tripped over themselves to sign first-look deals. A children's series, a wellness podcast, guest edit desks at high-gloss magazines. They were everywhere. and every press blast carried the subtext that the couple had carved their post-royal destiny on their own. When Spotify announced the end of their exclusive partnership, quietly, with muted disappointment in the earnings call, industry analysts whispered about missed content quotas. Meghan's camp spun the exit as strategic realignment. The whispers grew when Netflix insiders leaked that 2 green-lighted projects were stuck in development limbo. But to the public, the Sussexes remained glossy emblems of resilience, and Perry kept his misgivings off the record. The BET Award script Perry held that night originally contained a vanilla presenter introduction, 2 jokes about celebrating Black excellence, and a line thanking the music industry legends in the room. He launched into the text, then diverged. Viewers later said you could feel the air shift. His tone stayed soft, but every syllable arrived loaded. He spoke of blessings that become burdens when the borrower refuses to return them. He said, generosity is seed, meant to grow, but only if the soil gives back. The room, high on post-performance, adrenaline moments earlier, turned pin drop silent. If you knew the backstory, you felt the punch. If you didn't, social media filled you in before the commercial break ended. Hollywood runs on perception, and perception flipped overnight. Perry's reputation isn't just big, it's bulletproof. He bankrolls strangers' funerals, sneaks bonuses into crew paychecks, and writes villain-free storylines for women over 50. When someone like that suggests he's been wronged, studio phones ring. By dawn, an investor who had already sat through 2 planning meetings for Meghan's new Netflix docuseries emailed her team, regretfully withdrawing. A streaming strategy executive texted a colleague, "If TP says hard pass, I need to see the risk deck again." Another potential partner nixed an 8-figure commitment, citing brand alignment concerns. The tally, tens of millions gone before breakfast. Archewell's comms unit sprinted into action. Crisis memos flew, reframe Perry as sentimental, out of touch, maybe even jealous of the couple's modern royal stardom. Offers of exclusive sit-downs with Meghan landed in inboxes at Vanity Fair, The Cut, The Hollywood Reporter. Nobody bit. Reporters who tried to chase the quote down were stonewalled by Perry's camp. He'd said his piece and refused to elaborate. Silence in Hollywood can be louder than press conferences. Without a counter-narrative, the internet defaulted to gossip and memes. Hashtags that once sang, "We love you, Meghan," morphed into punchlines comparing free rent to unpaid student loans. Behind mansion walls in Montecito, damage control spiraled from professional to personal. Staffers described frantic late-night calls where Meghan demanded loyalty pledges and positive energy statements. Harry, once the family's fiery defender, reportedly paced hallways reciting pro-con lists in a voice edged with exhaustion. A senior aide tried suggesting a private apology to Perry. Meghan rejected it as performative groveling. The next morning, that aide's keycard failed at the security gate. Perry, meanwhile, stayed silent. Friends say he spent the week after the BT Awards in Atlanta tracking pickup footage for a historical limited series, as though nothing had happened. But his stillness spoke volumes. He had nothing to gain from the feud, which meant his public jab wasn't petty. It was protection. A confidant summed it up over coffee with a journalist. Tyler gave them refuge. They tried to flip it into leverage. He's sealing that door so his name can't be used without his terms. When Oprah's camp also declined to defend Meghan publicly, speculation reached fever pitch. The daytime TV queen had introduced the Sussexes to American audiences with that explosive sit-down 2 years earlier. If she was now taking a neutral stance, insiders reasoned, the rift must be serious. Observers scrolled archives and realized Oprah's socials hadn't featured Meghan in nearly a year. The silence looked strategic. Polls soon captured the backlash numerically. Within 30 days, favorability for Harry and Meghan in U.S. adults slid from 48% positive to 31%. In the United Kingdom, where sentiment had been chilly since Megxit, the couple's combined approval dipped into single digits for the first time. Online sentiment analysis flagged a 200% increase in negative keyword associations tied to Meghan's name, entitled ungrateful, manipulative. For a personal brand anchored in empowerment and resilience, the optics were disastrous. Financial tremors followed. Archewell paused hiring for a literacy initiative, citing budget realignment. An ecotourism podcast Harry hoped to front lost its underwriting partner. The lifestyle brand Meghan had teased on background calls, organic teas, mindfulness journals, sustainable athleisure, shelved its soft launch. One venture capital scout called the company high toxicity until she course corrects. Even the Lincoln fundraising gala reportedly returned her RSVP card stamped guest list at capacity, an etiquette-heavy way of saying don't bring the drama. As the weeks unfolded, former collaborators gingerly stepped into the spotlight. A Spotify producer said Meghan killed good brainstorming by demanding narrative perfection. A former Archewell social impact strategist confessed the internal motto was control the story or kill it. A publicist with deep royal connections shared that Meghan's team blacklisted journalists who asked unscripted questions. None of these revelations were nuclear on their own, but together they created a portrait of a leader who treated loyalty as currency and dissent as treason. Through it all, Harry's voice was conspicuously faint. Some insiders claimed he was quietly repairing royal relations behind the curtain, positioning the family for a Plan B return should American opportunities dry up. Others suggested he was simply exhausted, battered by press wars, family fallout, and the whiplash of watching trusted allies retreat. Friends report he took solo trips to Las Vegas and San Diego, ostensibly to meet veterans' charities, but spent significant time on surf beaches staring at the horizon. Meanwhile, Meghan tried one last gambit, a call to Perry that sources describe as a 13-minute monologue bordering on ultimatum. She accused him of betrayal, humiliation, and wrecking her children's legacy. Perry listened, said he would pray on it, and ended the call. He didn't call back. That silence boomed, louder than his BET parable. Perry's friends confirmed privately he felt emotionally cornered for years, pressured to give more, say less, and tether his brand to a friendship that increasingly resembled an extraction point for favors. By autumn, the ripple effects had become a cautionary map of modern celebrity. Meghan's TED-style empowerment talks dried up. Event planners admitted off the record they were re-evaluating speaker optics. A clothing label that once included her personalized note in every shipping box quietly discontinued the partnership. Even the Sussex's Sussex Royal Instagram, frozen, since their official royal exit, saw commenters return to drop parables about gratitude under old posts, turning the archive into a museum of unintended irony. The most painful blow, however, wasn't financial. It was reputational exile. Hollywood forgives almost anything except being difficult without box office heat. Meghan's story of feminist resilience had relied on allies who validated her as misunderstood royalty. When those allies stepped back, the scaffolding crumbled. The narrative shifted from woman silenced by monarchy to mogul burned by ingratitude. That pivot stuck because it came not from tabloids, but from Tyler freaking Perry, the man whose default setting is generosity. Months later, the entertainment industry still cites Perry's speech as a watershed, shorthand for a simple lesson: generosity is not infinite, and loyalty is not a one-way lane. Studios toast the insight over whiskey at wrap parties. Publicists warn new clients about Perry fatigue, the danger of exhausting silent benefactors who could one day speak. And aspiring influencers recite the modern prayer of networking: don't bite the hand that signs the non-disclosure agreement. As award season rolls back around, Perry's parable remains etched in industry memory. Meghan Markle's Hollywood chapter hasn't ended. Celebrity stories rarely do, but the pages now turn under harsher light. She learned an age-old rule the hard way. In a town built on reciprocal favors, alienating the quiet kingmaker is riskier than crossing any crown. Royal exile can happen twice, once in palaces of stone, and once in palaces made of cameras and contracts. So the next time a star thanks their village from a podium's glow, remember this night. Remember that borrowing blessings is easy. Repaying them is where legends stand or stumble. And ask yourself, when the credits roll, who keeps the lights on? Fame, or the friends who believed before the spotlights came on? If you're still hanging out with us, chances are you liked what you saw, so don't be shy. Tap that like button, drop a quick comment below, and hit subscribe with the bell turned on so you never miss the next deep dive.